Today, we become legends.
Despite having over 100 gods to choose from in Smite, some simply shine above the rest in terms of design and how they fit my playstyle. So today I'll be discussing my top 10 favourite Smite gods and why I enjoy them so much. Needless to say, this is my personal opinion and thus the list will be very biased, but I'll try to explain the objective factors that I like about the god and maybe you'll find out something new and want to try out some of these yourself. But quickly before we start, my second channel that breaks down science, economics, psychology, geography and tons of other interesting topics in a medium length digestible video has just gone live. The link for that will be down in the description and in the pinned comment if you want to check it out. There's a clip of the video that's just gone live at the same time as this one coming up if you want to see what type of content will be on that channel. If you're not interested in it, then skip to the time on screen. The Fermi paradox, the contrary proposition that mathematically, extraterrestrial life should be everywhere, yet we find zero conclusive evidence for that to be the case. Billions of stars per galaxy. More than 1 trillion galaxies in the observable universe alone. How can it be that our single planet on our single star in our single galaxy against all odds is the lone wanderer carrying a payload so precious that it cannot be found among the sextillions of other stars in the universe? You're more likely to win the lottery, then go to the casino and be dealt a royal flush in your first poker hand, then win with a single number bet on roulette, then get struck by lightning and die as you walk out of the casino, than for our planet to be the only one with life. Which raises the question, where is all the extraterrestrial life? So first up I have Hebo. Now this is probably a good time to point out that these are my favourite gods to play, not to play against. But with that disclaimer out of the way, Hebo is just a barrel of laughs to play, to be completely honest. He's sort of an all-or-nothing character that nukes a couple of people and then usually dies immediately afterwards, but sometimes that's the playstyle I'm looking for to have a bit of fun with, and Hebo does that the best of any character in the game in my opinion. Blink Hebo, especially from jungle, but also from mid as well, is either going to be the most fun you've ever had or make you alt F4 the game, and that's sort of what I like about him. Next up is potentially another controversial pick, though less so than around his release, and that's Baron Samedi. From a glass cannon burst mage to a much more utility focused mage, I like Baron for very different reasons to Hebo, but ultimately like them both a similar amount. Baron has a lot of things to manage and a lot of different ways to use his abilities, and this combined with his flexibility in builds, you can go full damage, you can go bruiser, you could even kind of make full tank Baron work. It gives him an extremely versatile playstyle. You may already know, or if you didn't, you'll find out later in the list, but my favourite class by far in Smite are warriors, and that's partly because of their extreme versatility. I like Baron for a similar reason. Plus his visual design is just top notch, and he has some of the most personality out of all of the gods in Smite. So we've had 2 mages in a row, let's move into the number 8 pick, which is Tsukuyomi. Probably the god where I'll get the majority of dislikes on this video, let's be honest. Tsuku obviously released way too strong, and arguably still is way too strong, but this video is about their designs and how much I enjoy playing them, not their balance point, as that fluctuates massively over time. Tsuku's design of being a ranged assassin is something I had really been asking for in Smite for a long time prior to his release, and I think they pretty much nailed it with his design. He plays very different to your typical assassin, relying more on poking you down and then going all in when you're low health to finish the kill, rather than just jumping into the fight immediately and trying to 100 to 0 the backline. His relative lack of mobility is made up for by the fact that he can hit you from extreme range, and I really like the way his ranged autos work. They could have just given him ranged autos, but I like that they're conditional and he's not always ranged. Full ability damage Tsuku is of course the way to go, but I honestly have way more fun playing crit Tsukuyomi and trying to ping people off with those ranged auto crits you get from his 1 and his 3, and utilising Malice for more CDR to get more of those ranged autos. If you haven't tried crit Tsuku yet, I highly recommend it. But yeah, I spent a little longer on this one than the others because I feel like I'm going to have to defend my position on liking Tsukuyomi's design because there's a lot of people out there that still hate on him because of his balance problems. Moving on though, we have my highest worshipper god, but not my favourite at the moment, and that's Hercules. Herc has been one of my most consistent gods that I've literally always enjoyed since I started playing the game back in 2014, hence why he's my highest worshipper god right now. It just adds up. As for right now though, he's not my favourite god. That doesn't mean he isn't still as fun as ever though, and his unique blend of OP damage and OP healing is just a barrel of laughs. No warrior should have an ult that hits for 800 base damage, but Herc does for the lols. Being able to heal for 1k plus health if the enemy are stupid enough to attack into your heal is also hilarious. Herc is a very basic god, but something about the way he plays is just so much fun. My number 6 favourite god is Nemesis. Another interesting fact here, Nem was my second ever 10 mastery god. Not my second diamond god technically, because when I got her to 10 masteries back in 2014, the top tier mastery skin was legendary, but she wasn't my first 10 mastery god. My first is actually not on this list, so leave a comment down below if you think you know which god it was. I'll give you a hint, she's female. But as for Nemesis, she has a playstyle that you almost can't find anywhere else. It's a very unique take on a rushdown assassin, and I think that's partly down to her original design as a warrior before she was converted to an assassin shortly after her release. The shield and ult are both things you literally can't find anywhere else, and they're so much fun to use. She's also very flexible in terms of builds and is equally fun with a full ability based build as she is with a full auto attack crit build. I find it pretty hard to not have fun with Nemesis, so I would say she definitely earned the number 6 spot. Halfway up the list, we have a god that fell out of my top 10 entirely for a long time, but his recent partial rework reinvigorated my love for him and made him a ton more fun. And that is, of course, Thor. My love for Thor is like a reverse bell curve. Early on in Smite, I'm talking 2014 and 2015, I used to love him and play him very frequently. Then for the middle years, he really fell off for me compared to a lot of the more recent assassins that had some more spice in their kit. But the partial rework did exactly what he needed to do for him and added a tiny bit more interest to his kit and also propelled him back into the meta. Pretty interesting that another assassin that used to be a warrior is taking a spot on the list, but given my affinity for aggressive warriors, it only makes sense that all warriors that became assassins are some of the most fun for me. Raven is another one, though he's not on the list, but I do really enjoy Raven as well. Moving on though, at number 4 I have Bellona. These next 4 gods are really one tier above the rest for me. My top 4 versus Thor and lower are significantly more fun for me, and this is where we get into the gods that are truly my diehard favourites. Bellona used to be my number 1 god for a while, but over the years there have been new releases and changes to other gods that have made them more interesting, while Bellona really hasn't received any significant changes in years. Don't get me wrong, I don't think she really needs changes. I'm sure there are some very small aspects that could be improved with her, but I don't think that's worth risking Hyra's ruining the character with a botched rework. Obviously, Bellona is a tried and true solo laner, which is my main role and the one I enjoy the most by far. Her weapon mechanics are super interesting and unique, and her blend of autos versus abilities works super well in my opinion. Plus her visual design and audio design is also top notch. Breaking into the top 3 though, we have Erlang. This is a god that I regrettably ignored for far too long. He was released in Season 3, but I only really started giving him a fair chance in Season 5 after he'd been nerfed a lot. I really wish I'd played him at launch when he was super OP and still had his root cripple and double procking old Soul Eater and stuff like that, but even still, Erlang to this day is a super fun god to use. More so in jungle nowadays, but you can make him work in solo if you're good with him, and those are my 2 main roles. Despite picking him up way after some of the other gods on this list, he's already at number 6 in terms of my worshippers, and I think he's only going to keep climbing. His very aggressive, fast playstyle is very reminiscent of an assassin, but in a warrior form, and there's just something incredibly satisfying about landing kills with this guy. Taking the number 2 spot, we have a longtime favourite of mine, Amaterasu. I always view Ama as the counterpart to Bellona, given their opposite playstyles and personalities, and the fact that they were released at opposite ends of the same season, that being Season 2. The way Ama fights is just something special, and she seems to have a really good flow in her kit. I love the micromanagement of making sure your passive is up on the wave before firing your mirror, making sure you're in the correct aura for the correct situation, charging your mirror quickly, waiting out people's movement before ulting. There's a ton of small things you can do with Ama that might go unnoticed to the untrained eye, but will massively improve your gameplay. If you've ever been destroyed by an Amaterasu, it's likely they're using a lot of these small strats and you didn't really notice and they're getting the edge on you because of it. Ama is one of only a few defensive warriors that I actually like a lot, but I guess she can also play fairly aggro depending on your build and playstyle with her. She is very flexible after all. Alright, before we get into the number 1 spot, I have a few honourable mentions that didn't quite make it onto the list, but that I still enjoy thoroughly. Ao Kuang, Athena, Sol, and Morgana. Ao is my go-to ranked hard carry and is always slept on. Athena is just always fun to play because of the taunt. Sol is one of my long-time favourite mages but has fallen off with me a little bit lately, and Morgana is too new to add to the list in my opinion, but I'm still really enjoying her so far. But alright, my number 1 favourite god right now is King Arthur. Yeah, I'm sure any of you watching that know me will have seen this coming a mile away when the one true king didn't show up anywhere on the list. Despite being the most recent release on the list, Arthur has already made it to my number 4 in worshipper rankings, and I firmly believe that one day he'll be at number 1. He's a god I can always come back to and have fun with. Even after all the nerfs he's received over the years, I still have great times with him, which proves I didn't like him just for the fact that he auto-won games back at his release, though I'm not going to lie, that was also pretty funny. Despite having 8 abilities to use, they always seem to flow really well together and there's a situation to use all of them, especially when you add his lunges on his autos into the mix. There's always a reason to use one ult over the other, which I do really like, and you'll frequently find that using his 4A instead of waiting for the 4B is actually the correct choice. Whether you think he's a face roll character or actually requires some more nuance, Arthur in my opinion is just a barrel of laughs and I almost always have fun when playing him. But that's my top 10 favourite gods and why. Let me know your favourites in the comments down below, or even your full top 10 if you've got the time. It'd be cool to see what my audience enjoys and if there's any similarity to mine. If you have any other ideas for future videos, then drop those down there too, and be sure to drop a like before you leave. I'll catch you guys in another video later on. Have a great day, and peace out you nerds.